everything we do in life is really about a relationship, right? You have contact, you share information, you do these invites, you just do temperature checks every once in a while to see how people are doing. How can we help you? What is it you need? If you only call an employer when you need something from them, like, can you show up at my career fair? That's not going to breed great relationship building, right?
There are opportunities for our work and careers everywhere, if you know where to look. That's easier said than done, especially in our fast-paced and constantly changing world. Marianne Fairmouth is talking to experts, employers, and job seekers to bring you insight and understanding about what's possible. This is Career Can Do, where we're navigating the new work world.
Welcome to the Career Can Do podcast, a top global podcast dedicated to helping you navigate the new work world. My name is Marianne Fairmouth, and I'll be your host for this episode. And today I'm just delighted to have a guest on my show that I have the highest admiration and respect for. Clare Brown is with the Houston Community College Career and Placement Division. And I wanted to have her on the show today because enrollment in the community college is really increasing. In fact, in 2024, 12.4 million students were enrolled in community colleges, making up 41% of the undergraduate population. And some of the key advantages of getting an associate degree are faster completion time, lower cost, flexibility, career entry point, and transferable credits. So after that incredibly long introduction,
I loved it.
Help me welcome Clare. Clare, say hello to everybody.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here and share with you some of the incredible experiences that I've had over the last 20 years in career services. I'd like to talk a little bit about how the landscape has changed over the last 2 decades. And I'd like to really share some of the incredible work that we're doing at Houston Community College.
Well, I think you are doing incredible work. And I have to say, we talked about this in the Blue Room. I had the wonderful privilege of coming and speaking to a graduating class before COVID. And I was so impressed with the professors and the teachers and the support staff I met and how much they were trying to facilitate and help the students really have every advantage in going forward in their careers. So, Clare, tell us, how does your career services team really support the students in their job search and career development?
Yeah. So thank you for asking that question. I think it's very important that we get to know our students and we meet them where they are. Oftentimes we think we have the answers in the quickest way, the straight line from A to B, but we need to get to know our students and to meet them where they are. So I think that is really important. In the old days, shall I say, 20 years ago, students didn't come to career services until they were about to graduate. It was a sprint at the very end. So they didn't have any buy-in or connection or relationship with us. They didn't even maybe know where we were located in the building. And when I say this, I'm not speaking specifically of Houston Community College. In fact, I'm talking about the early days. And of course, we all do business and we all have relationships. And the most successful relationships are those that are built over time. So we meet our students early and often. We're part of the enrollment process. We get in the classrooms. We pull them out of the hallways. We invite them to all sorts of events. We meet them where they are to find out exactly what they need. We have workshops. We have information sessions. We have all sorts of different events that we try to get them engaged early and often. We show up in the classrooms and we do presentations. We do them virtually. We do them in person. And we do things such as resume writing, career assessments, how to do occupational research. What are some great job search techniques? How do we brand ourselves? And when do we start branding ourselves? And what does that actually mean? I was talking to a student the other day who didn't understand branding or why LinkedIn was important and different media platforms were important. So I tried to explain it this way. I was not an accounting major, but I said, let's say I was an accounting major and I'm graduating and looking for a job in accounting. And I've got a great resume and I've got some good skills, but the HR department goes and tries to find what connections I have in accounting, what articles I've written, what things I support in accounting. And there's not a mention of the word accounting on my LinkedIn profile. well, they're going to think, well, heck, did you just wake up this morning and decide to be an accountant? So that's what I mean by early and often. Let's start building those skill sets. And really, what it comes down to is their confidence level.
Yeah. And I remember when I came over there and spoke, one of the other speakers, Claire, was a career development person from another college that came in and talked about how to use LinkedIn. So I think, giving and how important that is, because that's where people go first. So you're so right. I'm so glad you're doing that.
Interestingly enough, we have a class next week on how to start and to connect on LinkedIn and how to brand yourself. So that's really, really important. We always talk about networking. Networking, it looks very different than it did when you and I started our professional careers, right? So a lot of it is done online, and our social media and our business media, it all matters. So we try to kind of, change that mindset and start promoting themselves. So when I say find out who they are, where they're coming from, and what their why is, why are they at Houston Community College? Are they there maybe to get a certification? Are they there because somebody said you have to go to college? Are they first generation? Are they starting out because they know they're going to be going to get a 4-year degree or higher from a university? We kind of have to know what that plan is. And then we really kind of customize that plan for what the student is using. I always start every single visit with a student as tell me your story. And I cut it off after 3 to 5 minutes, but why are they there?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they don't have a clue as to what it is they think they're going to study. One of my very first students that I met with, and I always change his name and I call him David because I never forget that my brother's name is David. I was tasked with reaching out to a certain number of students who had just graduated, probably a lot of the students that you spoke to 5 years ago when you came to HCC. And every time I would talk to David, David would answer the phone sort of, hello. And my job was to get David excited over all these great IT opportunities. And IT is a great field to go into. There's lots of jobs, there's lots of avenues, there's lots of job security, and it's always changing. And it's really an exciting, but not for David. So I finally, every time I said to David, are you going to the interviews that I'm setting up for you? I'm finding out that you're not following up. It was always, I kind of in my mind called him Eeyore. Remember Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh? Nobody likes me. Everybody hates me. I'm going to go eat worms. Well, this song and dance went on for months. And David was taking a lot of my time, as the old adage, 80% of your time is spent with 20% of your students, right?
Yeah.
And that definitely rang true with David. And I finally said to David, you're kind of disrupting what could be a really good gig for another graduate by not showing up and doing what you're supposed to do. So I was prepared that day to say, you know what, David, I'm not going to bother you, but I'm here for you. If you need me, reach out to me. And on this particular day, I called David, and David answered the phone. Hey, Miss B, Clare Brown. He called me Miss B. He'd never done that before, and he sounded like a completely different person. And I said, well, David? He said, yes. And I said, well, David, you sound wonderful. Tell me what's going on with you. I got a job. He just kept interrupting me, and he was talking so fast, and he was so excited. I said, you got a job? That's wonderful. Tell me which one you took. Because I had set up multiple interviews for him. And I'm thinking, finally, he saw the light. And he says to me, and this is how fast he said it, I'll repeat it, but he says, I'm a large game warden for the city of Houston. I said, didn't recognize what he was saying. It didn't sound like any of the jobs that I had set him up to interview, any of the companies I'd set to interview. And I said, slower. And he said, I'm a large game warden for the city of Houston. And I said, well, my goodness, isn't that exciting? But I do have a question for you. Why were you going to school to get your associate's in an IT degree? And he said, well, my brother does that and he likes it, makes good money. So my mom said I should.
Yeah.
And I said, well, David, let me ask you a question. Did you ever take the career coach assessment? And he said, no, I never did. And I said, okay, let's do that. And we did it virtually. He was able to do it virtually. It takes just a few minutes. And do you know what the number one thing came up for him? It actually was park ranger, which was the closest to a large game warden for the city of Houston
wonderful
as you could get. And what is so interesting in that is working with inanimate objects indoors versus working outside with live beings, correct? About as polar opposite as you could get. If David had come into career services early and often, in his career, instead of falling onto a list that I got when I was hired, David would have probably taken that assessment and he would have saved a couple of years and a lot of time and money taking classes that he really wasn't interested in. So that's what I mean when I say, tell me your why.
Well, that's wonderful. I think that is so important, Claire, because, sometimes people come to me after they get their undergrad or associate's degree or 4-year degree, and they've been told what to do, but they don't want to do it. And they're not going to make a good employee. So I think if we start this process at this level, all right, everybody wins. The candidate wins because they're more in alignment with who they are and what they want to do. The employer wins because they get a good candidate that's going to perform well and they can make a contribution. So I think what you're saying is so important. And it's so wonderful to know that HCC offers these services for these students, because I'm not sure a lot of, I don't know that many colleges that do an assessment. But how great. And like you said, it's going to save so much time, so much money, but more importantly, it's going to put you in alignment with who you are and what you want to do. And, I always talk about my claim to fame is longevity. I like to place applicants to stay, but the only reason they're going to stay is if they're going to like what they're doing. So what
Right.
you're saying is so profound. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
The other thing I think is so wonderful is that, I know you all have a lot of career fairs, and I think that's so good. That's just so helpful. So how do you attract and maintain these strong relationships with employers? How do you do that?
We talked a little bit in the Blue Room about the pipeline, right? If you have these wonderful students who are ready to work, but no opportunity for them, that's a bad thing. On the flip side, if you have all these wonderful opportunities with employers, but no possible candidates, that doesn't work either. So we really spend about half our time cultivating these relationships with employers. We invite them to the campus. They can come and interview on our campus. They tell us what their needs are. We develop workshops and presentations specifically for that employer. I'm going to tell you, I'm a storyteller. I had an employer this past fall, on campus at West Loop campus for 2 days. They interviewed 42 people. They hired 8. I was with them every step of the way. I was prepping the candidates. I was getting debriefed. I was following up on what was going on. We're very, very focused on the end results. The students get the jobs that they want and need, and the employers get the staff that they so desperately require. What is very interesting is I'm having a career fair. We're having a career fair at the West Loop campus on March 18th. That employer, one of the 8 students who was hired last fall, is now in charge of hiring all the new candidates. So our student from October, is now the hiring manager in March of 2025. So she's coming back to interview and hopefully hiring 8 or 10 of our new students. So that is when you know it's successful. And that takes time and building relationships. Everything we do in life is really about a relationship, right? You have contact, you share information, you do these invites, you just do temperature checks every once in a while to see how people are doing. How can we help you? What is it you need? If you only call an employer when you need something from them, like, can you show up at my career fair? That's not going to breed great relationship building, right? So we invite people all the time to come in and mentor our students. And for instance, you have come in and you have spoken to our graduating class. You may not say something completely different than they've heard from career services or from their instructors or from their parents, sisters, siblings, whatever, right? But you're a new face. You're walking the walk and talking the talk and coming in as a hiring, a professional. And all of a sudden, you're brilliant and it all makes sense. So we want students to come back. We want employers to come in. We want them to motivate and give them something to aspire to be. Not all of our students come from a place. I was very lucky when I was younger that education was the most important thing in our household. It wasn't if you were going to school, it was where you were going to school. Not everybody has that. Lots of our students now are And even prior to COVID, it's the whole digital electronic age, they don't get out that much. They don't know how to interact. They don't feel comfortable talking to employers. So to have employers come in and say, I get it, coming to our workshops where we say, this is how you practice a mock interview. This is how you practice an elevator speech. This is how you shake someone's hand and look them in the eye. This is how you communicate. It's incredibly important. So those employers are very, very important to us. So we invite them all the time to come in. Sometimes when they have multiple hires or even single hires, we invite them to the campus and we set timed interviews for them. We give them a room and we bring the students to them. Our students feel really comfortable that way too, by the
I
way.
think so. And as I said before, I was just so impressed when I came in and the times I've been at HCC and spoken and visited with the professors there, the teachers there. I've been so impressed on how helpful they were to the students and how concerned they were about how the students were doing and how they wanted to help them.
And that's what I mean by we meet them where they are, because everybody's in a different place. Somebody's needs are very different than somebody else's, No two snowflakes are alike.
No. And for some of these students, Claire, that don't come into career services, that don't seek your help, how do you get them to be involved? What do you do?
As my father would have said, by hook and by crook. We have lots of ways that we do that. So we do it digitally. So we send them emails. We also have our platform is called Career Hub. So we have lots of things that events listed in Career Hub that we encourage them to go to. We set up tables in the hallway. I'll go to classrooms. We have reader boards. It's word of mouth. I'll have a student who went to one of our events or one of our career fairs or one of our information sessions and say, oh yeah, I got a job when I went to the last one. You guys should really go. So that means a lot. Somebody that's their peer that has made it, that means a lot. So we do a lot of advertising. I am not about to tell you that when I meet one-on-one with students, I say, let's sign you up for this. You need to come to this. This would really, really benefit you. So by any means necessary, I guess, but we use in the physical presence, in the classroom, online, any way that we can.
I think that's wonderful because I think, what I find out is sometimes people that come out with degrees, they have the theory, but they don't have the application. They don't know what to do next. How do they get the job? And I think we talked about this briefly in the Blue Room as well. The way you interviewed pre-COVID and the way you interviewed post-COVID are totally different. Pre-COVID, you go and tell somebody how wonderful you are. Post-COVID, they want to know, what are you going to do for me? What are you going to contribute to me? And if these students are getting prepared at this point in the cycle, they have such an advantage, all right? They have such a great advantage opposed to those students that don't.
Marianne, I often say this, and I've said this for decades. Career services to Clare Brown. I can't speak for my employer, though I think I would say the same thing. We're the report card of the college, okay? Students, they have to meet with admissions. They have to meet with financial aid. They have to choose classes. They have to go to class. They have to graduate, or they have to finish those classes. But if it stops there, they could love their professor, they love their advisor, love everything about HCC. But if their life isn't better for walking in our door, and most of their tell me your story, what it is that, tell me your story, they want a job. They want to improve their lives. And if they're not getting a job and not improving their lives, they are not better off for walking in our doors. So career services, I think, has this amazing power to, if we don't get it right, we've sabotaged everybody else's work. We have to get it right.
I think it's wonderful. I think you have a real advantage to offer your students because you are so involved in the process, not only in the academics, but after that's finished, then what? How do you go on from here? How do you use your knowledge, your education, the different skill set you have? How do you really make it work to your advantage? And most importantly, be in alignment with who you are. I think that is just so important. We're getting near the end here. Tell us real quick, how many campuses do you have? Whereabouts are they located? For people that are out there thinking about, maybe they want to investigate HCC. You have several campuses, don't you, Claire?
So we are all throughout Houston, and we even have, Stafford and we even have Fort Bend County. I am with the Southwest campuses, and there are 4 in the Southwest area. And it is Stafford, it is West Loop, it is Brays Oaks, and it is Missouri City. I will say that if you want to, you can meet with career services in multiple ways. You can go to the closest campus near you. You can go to where you take classes. You can do it over the phone or virtually. So we are wherever you are, wherever our students are. I had a student just yesterday. I was at the Braes Oaks campus all day. He was 36 miles away. I kept saying to him, you don't need to see me. You can see somebody from a campus closer to you. And he said, no, I want to see you. I said, okay, well, you don't need to come in. If driving that far after work is too much for you, let's do a video call. We'll do a WebEx. No, I want to see you. So he drove 36 miles and we worked together for about an hour and a half on mock interviewing and answering questions and feeling confident. And again, he came in and he says, I've applied to 40 jobs and nobody's called me. Nobody's done anything. I had one interview. He said he had to hear from him in 2 days and I never heard back from him. So we went over and over and over different ways and different thought processes. He goes, I can do this. I said, you bet your bippy you can do this. The greatest joy that I have 2 great joys, changing the facial expression and the posture and the eye contact and making somebody I'm not doing it, they're doing it. I'm just giving them a light push to become confident. And my other absolutely greatest passion is these students that go and get these jobs and then come back and say, Miss B, I need 3 people. You got it? Who do you got for me? I'm going to come in and interview people. That is success to me, one student at a time. And we've got thousands of students. I have the best job on the planet, just so you know.
They're so lucky to have you because I think that you really are helping these students so much. And after they meet a person like you and after you help them, then they come to a person like me. My job's a lot easier, okay? Because I think it's amazing. And I have the most admiration and respect for HCC. So for all our listeners out there, if you are thinking about pursuing an education or you're thinking about getting a certificate or a degree, or associate's degree, whatever it is, even if you think about a 4-year degree, check out HCC because it's going to give you such a platform. It's going to give you such information about the new work world. Because I'm here to tell you, after 40 years doing my job, it's a new work world. And we need to have students understand that and be prepared for that so that they gain success. Clare, I am just so happy to have you on the show. We're near the end here. If we had to leave them with one important point to go forward in 2025, what would that be as far as our listeners?
Well, I would remind your listeners that we are always evolving. We are offering bachelor degree programs now, multiples of them. So you can start and finish at HCC and get your bachelor's degree in certain programs. I also want to remind all of your viewers, we are the community's college. We represent all of Houston. I teach a class to the general population, not even our students, 55 plus. What does the job search look like for 55 plus? Those baby boomers that we speak of are getting older. They're working longer. They thought they could retire. We are constantly evolving to see ways that we can help our community and our students succeed. When they succeed, Houston succeeds, right? You don't want to go to a doctor's office where the medical assistant hates their job. You don't want to go anywhere where somebody doesn't like their job, doesn't feel fulfilled, isn't passionate, engaged in the moment. And that is what I strive, and the team that I work with strives every day to make sure happens. So be tenacious, work smarter, not harder. Go to your career services department on your first day of class, the week before you show up, the week after you show up. Don't wait. Don't wait. Get to know us so we can get to know you, so we can work together. That's what I've got to say. And we will all succeed.
Oh, I think that's wonderful. Well, all of this information will be on my website. What is the general website they can go to investigate HCC?
hccs.edu.
All right, good. Okay, well, all of this will be on my website, fairmouth.com. And we're at the end here. But Clare, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on Career Can Do. As you know, I have the highest admiration for this academic institution, and I'm always available to help any way I can. because you all are going the extra mile to help your students. And as we talked about, everything's connected. The more we can help others, the more everybody wins. So thank you all so much, Clare.
Marianne, it's a pleasure. And thank you for all of the support that you've given throughout the years to HCC and beyond.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you all so much. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.
We thank you for tuning in to our Career Can Do podcast. We make no guarantees on results for your particular quest, but we hope you enjoy the information presented. The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely that of the guest or speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Marianne Fairmouth and Fairmouth and Company. Thank you.